So I used to podcast with this, but then I started podcasting with that until I started podcasting with this. Let me show you how.
All right, now you go to jellypod.ai and you click Get Started for free. You'll be prompted to sign up, but I've already logged in. Here's the dashboard. There's lots of things that are on this page. It's got your podcasts and the ability to create new podcasts. It's got your hosts and the ability to create 3 kinds of hosts that I'll talk about in a second. And then lastly, getting started videos. Check these out if you ever get lost and you need a reminder of how to do things. So the first big step in Jellypod is to create custom hosts. There are 3 kinds: voice clones, voice designs, and professional voice actors. What I like to do is combine a voice clone of myself, so I'm the one podcasting, but combine that with a fictional voice design to sort of create a new dynamic that I find perfect for that particular podcast. But I'll show you how to create a host. So you click in, and now you see host name, gender, backstory. These are some of the characteristics that you can begin to plug in to create the custom host. But if you're kind of lost, you don't know where to start, click Generate Host, and then you can throw in some ideas, and we'll go ahead and help you generate that. Once you've chosen this information, you've got 3 options. Voice clone. So if you've got some audio samples, upload those. Say you've been on a podcast before. You can also record your voice right here on the web. The key thing to remember when recording your voice, quality over quantity. You really only want 2 to 3 minutes of just crystal clear audio without any background noise. And you really want to vary your voice, your tone, your emotion. So be really cognizant of your speaking speed. If you speak slow and take pauses, then the voice clone will do that. If you speak really upbeat and very quickly, the voice clone will also do that. Also, be prepared to have 2 to 3 minutes of something to record. You can read, obviously, what's on the page here, but depending on what you say, the voice clone will mimic that. All right, next, professional voices. We have a long list here of various voices with different kinds of accents, completely up to you. But what's really awesome is, regardless of the nationality of voice that you pick, every single voice will speak all the languages that are supported on Jellypod. But the funny thing is, they'll speak with that accent. So you might have a Portuguese voice speaking English, and it'll sound like that. Or you might have a British person speaking Spanish, and it'll also sound like that. The third biggest thing is voice design. This one's very simple. It takes the information that is above the backstory and then creates a custom voice for that backstory. So you can include things in the backstory like age, voice characteristics like raspy, to really get that voice sounding just the way you like it. Then you click Create Host and you're all done. I'm not going to do that today because I've already got a bunch of hosts. As you can see here, these are all the hosts I've created. But I'm going to go ahead and create a podcast now. So up in the top left corner, there's this little sidebar that opens up. This is the ultimate way to navigate throughout the app. You can go back to the dashboard where everything's in one view. You can click Podcast, Pronunciation Guide, go back to the host view, or do things like Submit Feedback, Help Center, and then all of the profile information like account settings, billing, affiliate program, etc. So I'm going to go ahead and just show you again. I'm going to click on the dashboard. Here are all my podcasts. I'm going to go press View All, which takes you to that same podcast destination from the sidebar. And then I'm going to click Create New Podcast. You can upload your own cover art, or you can let us generate one for you. I always love to let the AI create podcast cover art because it looks pretty cool. So I'm going to go ahead and create a demo podcast, Jellypod, the AI Podcast Studio, a podcast about Jellypod, the AI Podcast Studio, and the news around it. Make sure that this description is at least 50 characters. It's going to be put into the cover art generator. As you can see here, there are lots of languages to pick from. I'm going to go ahead and keep it with English. You can choose whether you want it episodic or serial. This really just is about the ordering. Do you want the newest episodes coming first or last? You can create a custom subdomain. So this is an awesome way to begin to share your podcast with folks. And you can also remove the Jellypod branding on this shareable website. And then, of course, you have advanced settings. So here you can add in all of your social media URLs, your contact info, your website. This is really a great way to begin to use your podcast URL as a way to drive interested traffic back to your core online properties. Next, I'm going to choose a couple podcast hosts. So I've created a bunch. I'm going to go ahead and choose Bruce, my Australian co-host, and then I'm going to add a voice clone of myself. So this just begins to show the combination of using a voice clone, so it's you podcasting with a combination of this great foil that really adds to the topic that you're talking about. Next, I'm going to go to the bottom here, and the last option is public or unlisted. It's up to you whether you want this podcast to show up on our home site on the Explore page, and we're going to show off some of your work to AI podcast fans. I'm going to go ahead and click Create Podcast. This may take up to 20 seconds because it's going to be generating that cover art based on the information provided. Awesome. So here is the podcast cover art. Looks pretty cool. Here's the information. We automatically categorize it. So this is important for Apple Podcasts, for Spotify. I have not created an episode yet. You'll notice this is just the podcast series. This is the umbrella for your episodes. And then you can just see some distribution options. There's that website that we just created, but also Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and anywhere else an RSS feed can be plugged in. That's what's so awesome. From your phone, you can create a new episode and then automatically have it blast off to Spotify all within minutes. I just clicked Create New Episode. So here you can upload a podcast if you've already got it. It's a great way to have this hybrid podcasting dynamic where your home episodes are recorded, but your on-the-go episodes are AI voiced. And then you go ahead and create the actual podcast. So you got a few options here. You can just throw in some text thoughts. You can just type it into this box here. You can add in a URL, or you can attach a file, or you can go straight to the outline if you've really got this sort of outline in your head that you really want incorporated. I don't have that right now. I just have a URL that I'm excited about, our home site. But I do want to say, if there is a blog that you just created that you want converted, a newsletter, a spreadsheet, a PowerPoint deck, a PDF, completely up to you. You hook it in there and we'll process it into a podcast. In other words, we'll help it come to life. So just hit Create Outline. All right, awesome. So now we have our episode outline created. So we have a name here that you can edit. We have a description here, and then we have the episode outline. So you have 3 chapters. We always make 3 chapters by default. Every chapter equals about 3 to 4 minutes. So it's roughly a 10-minute default episode. What's cool about it is you can edit any part of this outline. You can delete chapters, and you can even move the chapters around, add chapters, completely up to you. But I think we do cut you off at about 10 chapters. I'm going to go ahead and delete a few of these chapters because I just want a short, bite-sized, 3-minute long podcast. All right, I've gone ahead and done that. And now the last big step is to click Generate Script. So now the system is taking in all the backstories from the hosts you've created and now making this content come alive in these characters' voices or in your clone voice. All right, awesome. So now you can see here's my clone starting things off and then Bruce bouncing back and going back and forth discussing Jellypod, the AI podcast studio. Cool thing about Jellypod is you get to control everything about it. The outline is all about story arc, but here you're able to choose word choice and really get this thing from 95% right to 100% right. You can edit any word. You can add speech blocks. You can determine who says them. You can delete speech blocks, and you can go ahead and click on this pronunciation guide. It's to the right of the generate audio, and you can actually explicitly say how certain words are pronounced. So sometimes AI will mispronounce acronyms, company names, URLs, you name it. But as you can see here, I can set things up in the pronunciation guide, and then it'll be just the way I want it. I can also add intro music and outro music to make this podcast really immersive, but that's after I generate audio. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. All right, awesome. So now the audio is done generating. You can play it here to give it a preview. And then if you don't like something, you can edit the pronunciation guide. You can tweak some words in the transcript. But I'm going to go ahead and publish episode. This is that final step before it blasts off to your RSS feed, your custom website, and Spotify, Apple, etc. So here is the episode created, as you can see. I'm going to go ahead and show you the custom website. Click into it. So here's the custom website. You can share this link with anybody over text, email, on social. Click into the episode itself. You'll see the chapters. You'll see the transcript. And really, that's packs a big SEO punch.
And just like that, you've made a podcast from your phone to Spotify in like 5 to 10 minutes. Give it a listen in the description below.